Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host as always, Daniel Levi. We're going to be talking UFC Fortaleza, Kelvin Gastelum versus Vitor Belfort, and my very special guest, the man himself, Mike Biggie Rhodes. Biggie, what's going on, man?
Man, I'm good to be here. I'm doing good, man. I'm ready to go, and I'm ready to break down this fight card and get some good predictions and some good insight for those guys who bet, and just for those guys who have little wagers with their friends at the bars while they're watching the fights.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we're coming off a very good weekend. I know you were on that T-Wood plus money. I mean, how are they going to disrespect the champ like that? The champ was plus 140 in his title defense, Mike.
Man, you know what it is? I think people just, for some reason, whatever it is, they just don't want to get behind Tyron Woodley. I think too many misconceptions about will he gas, will he do this? You know, I think a lot of people listen to the naysayers too much when it comes to Tyron, but go ahead, keep doing it. People like me love free money. So keep making my guys the underdog, and I'll keep making money off you guys.
That's right, man. And you know what? It was interesting because, it was boring for a lot of people. It wasn't boring for me at all. And I know it wasn't boring for you either because, man, I knew at any moment anything could happen in that fight. And then finally, Tyron got his opening in that fifth round. And, you know, he did knock him out. I feel like he knocked him out and then he woke him back up with that follow-up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is the second time. I mean, you look at the first fight, he knocked him out and brought him back to life a couple times, and then, this fight happened again. He's got to just start punching people and letting them fall down and then stop hitting them.
Yeah, the way Wonderboy went down, I got to give Wonderboy credit for getting back up because, the way he went down that second time, where both his knees buckled, you know what I'm talking about, Biggie?
Yeah.
People don't just get back up from that. So, man, the kid's tough, but, T was just a bad matchup for him, man. I feel like he just has his number.
I agree. I think too many people, exactly what Tyron has been saying, too many people get frustrated because Wonderboy's standing on the outside, but he's not really doing a lot. It was kind of like the Holly Holm Jermaine Durandamy fight where you have someone kind of bouncing around, throwing a couple random shots, and then the other fighter really throwing the shots that can end the fight, and I think people realized, and I think the judges saw that, one or two little pitter-pats compared to one really hard or damaging shot. They took the fight finishing shots, and that's what they thought was more effective.
100%, because look, if you had to make a highlight reel of that fight, all you would use is the takedown in the third round and the two knockdowns in the fifth. So I think they picked the winner correct. But, dude, let's get right down to business because we got Tim Means. He's minus 250, and the comeback on Alex Cowboy Oliveira is plus 210. Now, this is a rematch. These two fought before in December of last year, so literally a few months ago at UFC 207, and Tim Means knocked out Alex Cowboy in the first round. Now, it's officially a no contest because, maybe it was an illegal knee, maybe it wasn't an illegal knee, but bottom line is I learned a lot about the way that these two match up in that first fight because, look, prior to that fight, I said that Alex Cowboy would have a big edge in that clinch because this dude is known for bullying people in that clinch. He's super strong. He's one of these dudes that he seems like he probably injures his sparring partners. You know what I mean? He's one of those dudes. And you saw his fight with Will Brooks. Broke his ribs with a knee, and he's just one of those rough dudes to deal with. But man, I was 100% wrong about Alex Cowboy having an edge in the clinch because Tim Means was tossing him around. Tim Means had a blast double in that fight. Since when does Tim Means, score blast doubles? You know what I mean? So I feel like Tim Means is the stronger guy here. I saw all I needed to see in that fight. The one area that I thought Cowboy had an advantage, he doesn't have an advantage in that area. Tim Means is actually better than him there. So, I have 2 units on Tim Means, parlayed with someone earlier. The only reason I didn't do a max bet is because, this is Brazil, and let's say a similar situation occurs just like the first fight. Chances are he could get DQ'd, and that's a loss right there. So if it was anywhere but Brazil, I'd bet the house on it. But for this, I got 2 units. I think Tim Means is going to finish him again.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think Tim Means is, and I wouldn't have given him the edge in the clinch just because Tim Means is so mean in the clinch. Since his return to the UFC, his knees and his elbows have been vicious, man. And I think with his length, Alex Oliveira is actually pretty tall and long as well. But Tim Means is, so long and so tall. It makes it so much easier for him to get off the knees and elbows and fight from in there. And he's got pretty good takedown defense as well, Tim Means does. And I think that Alex tends to get a little bit tired later on in fights, and Tim Means just keeps going all day. But like you said, it is Brazil. That makes me a little bit worried, but I do see Tim Means coming out with the victory here. I think he finishes him late second round, probably a TK off, a knee to the body or something like that, and he'll finish him up there. Hopefully no mishaps with, the rules. The new rules are not being used. I think I'm aware of, but
Yep.
not 100% on that. So you just got to be careful with that. Yeah, you got to be careful with that grounded opponent scenario all the way through, and just be cautious in there. But I definitely see Tim Means coming away with the victory.
Kevin Lee, he's minus 155, and the comeback on Francisco Trinaldo is plus 135. What do you think, man? I mean, on paper, this is a hell of a match. But I mean, Francisco Trinaldo, I believe he's on a 7-fight win streak. And Kevin Lee is a badass too. What are you thinking here, dude?
I think this is a redemption fight for Kevin Lee. I think Kevin Lee took Leo Santos lightly, and that's what caused that loss a little bit ago here on his fight record. But I think Kevin Lee is a younger, faster, more skilled version of Francisco Trinaldo. So I'm thinking that Kevin Lee is going to get the victory here. I just hope he comes in with his head on correct. He comes in focused and not overlooking Francisco Trinaldo, because Trinaldo is a beast. He fights tough. He beat Ross Pearson. He's beat some top lightweights, man, and he's actually surprisingly really, really good. It's just not a popularity thing with him. He's just not this big personality, but as a fighter, he's definitely good. He's definitely dangerous. And he's tied for the longest win streak in the lightweight division with Khabib. So, or second, I think it is. But tough fight, but I'm going to have to choose Kevin Lee here. I think he gets it done. I think he's the better wrestler. I think he's the better grappler, and I obviously think he has the striking advantage.
Man, it's a tough one for me to call, dude, because man, this Francisco Trinaldo guy, I keep counting him out, and then he keeps winning, dude, and he's a nasty southpaw. I mean, he's dropped plenty of dudes with that left hand. Kevin Lee has to watch out for that left hand for sure, and I think it comes down to Kevin Lee's strategy, man. I mean, if he tries to stand and bang with Trinaldo, I'm not saying he can't have success there, but what I am saying is that he gives Francisco Trinaldo a lot more of a chance to win if he engages him in that kind of fight, whereas I feel like Kevin Lee could take a safer route and try to wrestle him for 3 rounds, kind of like he did against Magomed Mustafaev in his last fight. So I definitely think Kevin Lee's going to try to mix in the takedowns. I mean, he has to. And the dude is, he's dynamic, man. I mean, in his UFC debut, he almost choked out Ally Quinta, and, he does some real, like, freakish things that people don't really talk about, man. Like, he'll throw, like, flying kicks out of nowhere, but when he's disciplined, man, he's a winner, dude. So, is this time for Francisco to finally fall off the cliff? I mean, he's like 39 years old, but he keeps winning, so I don't know, man. You think Kevin's going to try to wrestle him, or you think he's going to stand and bang with him?
No, I think Kevin knows that he's beyond a lot of guys in the wrestling, and I think he figured that out, and I think he loves to strike, but I also know he loves to win. He loves money more, and so I think he understands that when he wrestles, he's a way more dynamic and way more scary fighter than when he chooses not to. So I figure he'll probably start with the hands, do a lot of, movement, stuff like that to set it up, because Francisco Trinaldo has a pretty decent takedown defense we've seen in fights. So I think he's going to have to use his boxing to set it up, but I definitely see him wrestling here. And even if it's just the slow and even tire Francisco Trinaldo, because I believe Kevin Lee will have the conditioning and athleticism, the edge in those categories against Francisco Trinaldo.
Yeah, 100%. So now it comes down to strategy, and let's see if he goes out there and gets the win. And, dude, we got Jussier Formiga. He's minus 135, and Ray Borg is plus 115. I mean, just on paper, this is such a great matchup. You know for a fact that there's going to be some serious scrambles in this fight, and both these guys are known for taking the back, and they're both experts at it. But I feel like Jussier is the more seasoned guy. He's more experienced. He's more polished. But with a young guy like Ray Borg, you can't really measure the kind of improvements that they're going to make fight by fight because, I mean, he's literally just a kid. He's like 24 years old, you know what I'm saying? So he's getting better every single fight. Like, you recall his fight with Scoggins, and then you watch his fight with Smolka, and it's two completely different guys. So Borg is evolving. Also, he moved to Greg Jackson, so now he's working with Brandon Gibson on his striking, which is the one area of the game that people said they wanted to see more of from him. And with Jussier, I mean, it's the same thing it's always been, man. I mean, you know, if you don't have your fundamentals, you know, tight, this dude's gonna win the decision all fucking day. And his ability to take the back is truly something to behold. He's able to keep very high level wrestlers in the back mount and just ride out the clock and win these decisions. So for that reason, man, I'm not gonna take the shot on Ray Borg. I'm rooting for Ray Borg. He's a cool dude, but Jussier is so damn seasoned and polished, and yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Jussier, but I'm rooting for Ray Borg here, dude.
Yeah, I like the matchup. It's very, very intriguing. It's one of the matchups in the 125 division that I've actually looked forward to seeing and watching these guys compete against each other. Yeah, I think you're right, man. Ray Borg, he's either 23 or 24. He's a young kid. The scary thing is he doesn't make weight all the time. I hate to bring up the negative negativity with talking about him, but that's something that has to scare you off a little bit. He's traveling to Brazil. You know, myself, who has fought in Brazil and cut weight, while traveling there, it's difficult. So if he's already having trouble here in the States, he might struggle even more. So that could affect his performance, which I think is his edge. His athleticism, his age, his youth is his edge in this matchup. But if he has a bad weight cut, that's going to hinder his athleticism, his conditioning, and I think that will ultimately hurt him if he has a bad weight cut. Jussier Formiga is more of the technical grappler where he takes the back effortlessly, where Ray Borg kind of jumps to the back, a little bit more of the live scrambles. They both have a common opponent in Dustin Ortiz. Dustin Ortiz beat Ray Borg because he was able to nullify him taking the back. You know, we knew he was literally jumping to take the back. So Dustin was able to stay calm, stay compact, and shake him off. When Dustin fought Jussier Formiga, he ended up in some bad positions because Jussier Formiga was a little bit better at taking the back. And then he's long. What I mean is he's not very tall, but he has long legs. And so that allows him to body triangle people and control them for complete rounds. So definitely a grappler's delight here. Ray Borg should have the edge on the feet with power. Jussier kind of just throws, but he's not afraid to throw down in the pocket. But I think we're in for a treat. I want and root for Ray Borg, but Jussier Formiga is definitely not an easy task, but I would definitely stay away from the plus money on Ray Borg in this fight.
Yeah, man, it's just it's a tough proposition just based on the matchup, man, but I hope Ray Borg proves me wrong, man, you know, because it'd be cool to see him get that win. But anyways, dude, Mauricio Shogun Hua, he's minus 140, and the comeback on Jean Villante is plus 120. And, it's funny, man. These two are going to stand and bang until one guy goes down. That's the bottom line, because if you look at Jean Villante, we'll talk about the stand-up in a second here, but he actually has good takedown defense. So I was thinking about it because, Shogun's last two fights went the distance, and in that fight with Lil Nog, he got rocked early on, and then he was able to mix in his takedowns and win the decision like that. So I was thinking, if he gets rocked here, can he mix in his takedowns and win? And, man, Jean Villante's actually got really good takedown defense. I think that work with Chris Weidman's been paying off in that sense. But the area I don't think his work with Chris Weidman's been paying off is that the dude is literally a punching bag. You know what I'm saying, man? And I feel like all the wars in the gym, there's a reason he gets dropped every single fight. That chin is straight in the air. He hits hard as hell, but, he is kind of a meathead. And a guy like Shogun can totally capitalize on that, whether it's a big left hook, whether it's an overhand right, whether it's chopping him down with the leg kicks and then mixing in the hands. I feel like Shogun's got this one covered, but here's the issue. Just like any fighter, any great fighter, or just any fighter in general, father time's a bitch, and Shogun, he doesn't take the shots as well as he used to, and he is kind of, getting up there in age, but man, I still think he's got enough left in the tank to beat a guy like Jean Villante, who, I mean, dude, some of these times when you're watching these Villante fights, like, you're like, come on, Villante, like, are you serious? So, yeah,
I agree.
I'm gonna go with Shogun by knockout here.
Yeah, man, I totally and utterly agree with everything you said. Yeah, I just hope that, Shogun isn't at that point where, as an older fighter that, he's deteriorating. I love Shogun. I love the way he fights. I love his style. I think with the shoot box style is great for this fight in which he has. Gian Villante is there to get leg kicked. He's there for the overhand right and everything like that. And Shogun can wrestle if he wants to. I don't think he has to, but Shogun's really good in the clinch with little trips and little dumps. And I think almost like the Dan Kelly Rashad Evans fight here, once they engage really close, I think Shogun has an edge with the way he punches in close, and uses little trips and dumps to get his opponents off balance. These two share a common opponent in Corey Anderson, both defeating them. And Gian Villante has crazy power. That's how he was able to finish Corey, and Shogun was able to win the fight. He dropped him as well with the overhand right and the leg kicks and stuff like that. So I think we're in for a very, very entertaining fight, and I think they are going to stand in front of each other and just bang it out. But I think that Shogun is the more technical striker in those exchanges, and so I think he'll hit first and hit last, and I definitely see Shogun coming away with the victory here, probably a TKO.
Over or under 1.5 rounds?
I would say over.
Okay.
I think Shogun is gonna 1.5 rounds. Ooh, I might.
I know, right? Isn't it tough to say?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I might be calling a push on that. I think it's probably gonna be right in there somewhere. Shogun still has a lot of pop, early in the second round, but once it gets towards the third, I think that he starts to slow down a little bit. And at that point, I think they're gonna have a pretty high output. So at that point, he could hit him with something that puts him down, or they might end up going to a decision. But definitely see Shogun pulling out the victory any way it goes down.
Edson Barboza, he's minus 160, and Beneil Dariush is plus 140. And I mean, what can we say about Edson Barboza? I mean, I would go as far as saying that he's one of the top 5 strikers in the lightweight division, maybe in the lightweight division's history, because offensively speaking, I mean, obviously we don't got to talk about the leg kicks and just the kicks in general. I mean, Barboza is absolutely nasty, but if we're going to act like he's not defensively vulnerable, then we're fucking lying to ourselves, man, because, there's times when I'll see him, go to work on, like, Gil Melendez, and then Gil will drop him, and I'll be like, oh, my God, Edson, like, and I'll have... I bet the house on Edson in that fight, because it's easy money when he's fighting a guy like Gil Melendez, and he still gets dropped in that fight. Well, here against Beneil Dariush, man, I mean, Dariush, he's constantly underrated, but every time he's fought a striker, he's won, against Michael Johnson, even though many consider it to be a controversial decision. What we have to say is that, well, what did the judges see? What did Beneil Dariush do well in that fight? And what he did well in that Michael Johnson fight was his usage of the jab, his leg kick, his knees in the clinch. So he did a couple of things right. And, I mean, dude, we've seen Edson Barboza get dropped with a jab before against Cowboy. Beneil Dariush has got a damn good jab. I'm not saying that that's going to happen again, but, I mean, would you be surprised, Biggie? I mean, it happened once before, and I mean, Beneil's really been getting comfortable with his striking. Obviously, he beat Michael Johnson. It was a very close decision, but he still beat him. And then he goes in there against Vic. He beat Vic in the first round, which one does not simply do. And then he beat Rashid Magomedov 30-27 in the Mexico City elevation. You know what I'm saying, dude? So he's getting better every single time, and I understand that Edson Barboza is a step up, and there's an athleticism difference here. Edson Barboza is a fast twitch guy, and no doubt there's an athleticism difference, but it's not the same kind of athleticism difference as, say, Edson Barboza versus Evan Dunham. I don't think it's like that. I think, Benny's not that bad of an athlete, man. So what I'm thinking here is that, look, Benny's a southpaw. We know that an orthodox fighter, it's hard to get off on your leg kicks against a southpaw because, firstly, you have to go to the inside of the leg and you got to get past his knee or him checking it. And, you watch a fight like Aldo versus the Korean Zombie, and there's a reason that Aldo wasn't getting off on his leg kicks in that fight. And he's known for his leg kicks. The reason why is because Korean Zombie checked one of those kicks and broke his foot and turned Aldo into a wrestler. And not saying that, Edson Barboza is going to break his foot and turn into a wrestler, but what I am saying is that the southpaw stance is going to limit a lot of those leg kicks. So I think that Edson's going to be going to the body a lot, and he's going to be going to the head a lot. And I feel like at first, Beneil's going to go through some shit, no doubt about it, but I feel like eventually he's going to get to Edson. He's going to find a way to win. And for that reason, I took the underdog price, and I took 2 units on it. And I feel like Master Cordero, they're gonna have Benny prepared, because look, Biggie, you know the deal when you're fighting a guy that is faster than you and more athletic than you. You don't go, punch for punch with him. You don't go speed for speed with him. You try to counter him. You let him come at you, and then you wait for your opening. And I feel like Master Cordero is going to have Benny ready for that. Whether it's the kick returns, whether it's the check, whatever it is, man. I feel like he's going to come in here prepared, and I'm willing to take my chances for this upset.
Yeah, I'm taking Benny as well. Barboza is one of the most decorated strikers in the lightweight division for sure. But you hit right on the key of things that I was going to say. Lefty-righty takes away a lot of that, especially the leg kicks. But he is going to go to the body. He is going to go to the head, just because that's the open side. And if you make a mistake blocking on that side, it can be the end of the fight right away. A lot of people thought we were crazy as a gym when Eric Koch was scheduled to fight Jose Aldo because and we were really high on Koch is because he is a lefty, and exactly what you spoke of. It is so hard to damage that leg from the inside against a lefty because they train against righties all the time until they're ready to check that kick, and that takes away a lot. Benny's going to close the distance on Edson. He's going to make him box. He's going to make him punch. Edson's not a puncher. His punching is not at the caliber of his kicking ability. Beneil's going to wrestle him. He's going to take him down. He's going to grind him. He's going to clinch him. And I see him breaking Edson Barboza. And I see him getting the finish here. I think he's going to take him down. I think he's going to defend a lot of the kicks, walk him down, and land the bigger shots. And I could just see him cutting Edson up and walking out of Brazil with the victory.
Another thing we got to talk about is that, in order for Beneil to get prepared for a guy like Edson Barboza, you got to be training with the right guys. And he's training with Giga Chikadze, the glory fighter, who's known for putting people down with liver kicks and, who's known for his body kicks. So when you're training with a guy like that you know how it is with with the real strikers where, they hit you one time with that kick and they put you down. You know what I'm saying? Whereas you train with 100 other guys and you can take their kicks. Like, this is one of those guys. And that's who Benny trains with on a regular basis. Whether it's Giga Chikadze or Kelvin Gastelum, Benny's going to be prepared for this fight. And I feel like he's got the right people in the gym. He comes out of the right gym, has the proper coach. And, if we're going to talk about his coach, we got to talk about Edson Barboza's coach too, because he has been putting in work with Mark Henry, and we know Mark Henry's a genius with the combinations and also finding openings on the opponents. But based on how the styles match up, I feel like Benny's smart enough to do what he has to do to win this fight. And we know Edson can be gotten to, and I feel like I feel like Benny's gonna take care of him on Saturday night. So I took the underdog shot. And dude, the main event, we got Kelvin Gastelum. He's minus 425. And the comeback on Vitor Belfort, or as we like to say in Brazil, Vitor Belfort, is plus 340. Man, this is going to be an ass whooping, dude. I'm not even counting Vitor out or nothing like that, but if you go back and you watch his last few fights, it's pretty damn clear that the dude's just showing up for a paycheck, you know what I mean? And, he'll throw one little flurry, and it doesn't even have to land or anything like that, or maybe a few of the shots do land, but after that one little flurry, he doesn't throw anything else again, and then he gets discouraged, And then, he looks for the door. And I feel like with a pressure fighter like Kelvin Gastelum, not only is he a pressure fighter, he's also a southpaw just like Vitor. And, he's going to be slamming the body kicks. He's going to be backing him up into the fence. And a lot of volume is going to be coming Vitor's way. So, I'm not even worried about, the wheel kicks and this and that because this isn't, this ain't, TRT Vitor no more. You know what I'm saying, man? This is dad bod Vitor. So, yeah, man, I think Kelvin's about to whoop his ass. And I've always been very high on Kelvin. He's one of these guys that I basically bet on every single fight. The dude's a winner in every single sense of the word. Winners win, losers lose. This guy is a long-term winner all day. And on his worst possible day, I say this every episode of the podcast, before his fights, he misses weight by 11 pounds. He's hospitalized. He's sick. And he still went to a split decision with the world champion Tyron Woodley. That's how good this kid is, man. So I think he's about to put Vitor away, whether it's the first round, the second round, or the third, maybe the fourth or the fifth. I have no idea, but I tend to think it's going to be early, man.
Yeah, I like this fight for Kevin Gastelum, and for all the same reasons, man. I feel like Vitor is on his way out. I think this is going to be one of those performances that everybody's going to be like, damn, we don't want to watch this anymore. We don't want to see a legend and a phenom in the sport go down like this anymore. I think people are going to be calling for his retirement after this. He's always coming out of the gate. He's got that first initial burst where he can just take anybody out in the world. But Kelvin Gastelum has showed his toughness. I don't know if or how skilled Kevin Gastelum is. I mean, if you watch the fight, I know he did take Tyron to a split decision. I just think he's tough. That's one thing that you cannot take away from that kid is he's just mentally tough, and he's not afraid to get in there and change it up. I think that's what he did better than Uriah Hall when they fought way back off the Ultimate Fighter. Is Uriah was the more skilled fighter, but Kelvin was the more hungry fighter, and he wanted it more, and he was the tougher one mentally. And I think that's what's going to allow him to withstand the barrage that will put on him, because it will come. But I think he'll be able to push through that with his mental toughness and get that W there in the fight. The only thing that scares me is weight, but this one's at 185, so I don't think you have that concern. So I would definitely load up the money on Kevin Gastelum, no matter if he was a favorite or not.
Dude, honestly, I don't even care about the weight because the times that he's missed weight, he's gone out there and won, except for the T-Wood fight, and that was one judge's scorecard away from a win. So, to me, he's going to show up. I know he's going to show up, so I'm not even worried about that. Now, as far as his skill goes, man, I really feel like the work that he's been putting in with Master Cordero is paying dividends because, you notice, basically, the volume striking style that he's been doing lately. You saw that fight with Tim Kennedy. He was really getting behind his jab excellently, and he would set up the uppercuts. And you know the deal, Biggie. If you don't set up that rear uppercut, at that level or, even at any level, man, you're going to get countered super hard. And the fact that this dude's able to, mask that behind his jab, it shows me that, he's reaching a higher level training at a place like that. And it's good to talk about because certain people excel in a place like that and other people don't. Like, you look at a guy like Jake Ellenberger or a guy like Patrick Cummings and, they started training at Kings MMA and then they'd go and they'd basically get stopped every single fight. And then you look at a guy like Benny Dariush or a guy like Kelvin Gastelum or previously a guy like Rafael Dos Anjos and they're unstoppable, and they're looking better than ever. Yeah.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that. And if you look at the three names that you said, Benny, Gastelum, and RDA, look at what they're really good at. They're tough as hell. None of those guys get put down or put away very easily, and that fits with Rafael Cordero's style, the old shoot box. Walk up, throw hands, throw heavy legs, and stick, you know what I mean? And that's what they did. They're tough enough to stand in the pocket and really let go, and that on top of being in really good shape, that allows them to beat a lot of guys. Because that style that he teaches, you can watch videos of him of him kneeing TJ Dillashaw on the body and dropping him. You know, he's notorious for putting fighters down himself, you know, and that kind of training and that mindset with the toughness of those guys that he has, that's just a great combination for those guys.
Dude, there's like a video of him dropping the whole gym. Like he's like dropping like Word Doom and Babalu, and then he goes over to Benny. You know what I mean? Like Master Cordero is ridiculous, man. Did he have like you know, I'm kind of ignorant about the past, you know, his past history. Like, did he have like a bunch of Vale Tudo fights or something like that?
I'm not even sure on that as well. To speak, you know, a lot of truth to that, but I could see it, man, because he has blended his style, you know, the shoot box style for MMA perfectly. You know, he's one of the few striking coaches that have actually, you know, immersed themselves in MMA and made their striking work for MMA. You know, a lot of striking guys think that they can just come over and teach the same things and it's going to work, where that's definitely not the case.
Indeed. We were talking about strikers, now we got to talk about grapplers because we got Yahya. He's minus 160, and the comeback on Joe Soto is plus 140. And, man, this one has the potential to be super close. And, again, just like the Jussier Formiga versus Ray Borg fight, in its own unique way, this fight will have some great scrambles because, I mean, dude, Yahya, you know, just like Damian Maia, he's been winning a lot of fights lately, and, you know, he is kind of one-dimensional just like Damian, but he finds a way to get it done, man. He's super effective with it. And with Joe Soto, I mean, last time I checked, he was a Dave Terrell brown belt. He might be a black belt by this point, but Joe Soto is legit on the mat too. It's not just Yahya that's got amazing jiu-jitsu in this fight. I mean, Joe Soto is also, you know, doing EBI and stuff like that, and you got to be invited to do that. You know what I mean? You got to be legit if you're doing that EBI. As far as I know, maybe I'm wrong on that, Biggie, but as far as I heard, you got to be invited to do that EBI. So
it's definitely an invitational, and Joe Soto is somebody who deserves an invitation to that scene. He's a master of the leg lock. That's his big thing on the ground is he's dangerous with those leg locks. I think he won his last fight via heel hook, where he stepped up on short notice and went and took care of that fight. But he's definitely dealing with a different beast in Yahya, who's 8-2 quietly in the UFC. You know, a lot of his, I think the majority of his wins are via stoppages, all coming by submission. So if I'm Joe Soto, where I clearly have the striking advantage, I would try and keep this fight on my feet as long and as much as possible, because if it hits the ground, it becomes kind of a crapshoot, you know, who's going to get there first, who's going to make the mistake. But definitely I think we can be in for a treat and some really exciting high-level scrambles that, you know, the common fan might not be intrigued by, but as hardcore fans and for people who actually train in that martial arts, it'll be very exciting.
no doubt about it, man. And, you know, I was considering taking the shot on Joe Soto, but, man, I just have the feeling that this is going to be one of those fights where it's super close, like split decision close, and Yahya, you know, gets the Brazil decision, man. You know, if I had confidence that Soto could win, you know, a very wide decision, then, you know, I'd make the bet. But, man, I feel like, you know, even though I like Soto a lot, he's a total badass. You know, he has been put in a lot of bad spots before, so I'm not saying he can't survive them, but, you know, if you're on your back, man, that's going to take minutes away from the clock, and the judges count the dude that's on top as winning, even if you're attacking off bottom, you know? So that kind of shit is going to cost him, I feel like. But, man, I really hope that he's able to use his wrestling, keep the fight on the feet, and potentially knock out Yahya, because his stand-up, I mean, he's down to throw down, you know, he's a tough guy, but, you know, he doesn't use his footwork or anything like that. He doesn't step into his punches. It's one shot at a time. Like, you know the deal, man. It's basically all to mask the takedown. And, you know, here's my thing, man, because, look, when Joe Soto fought Tanaka was able to take him down, but Tanaka has completely different takedowns than Yahya. Tanaka's like a stocky wrestler that does explosive takedowns, whereas Yahya does jiu-jitsu takedowns. So that's why, you know, I'm kind of like, I really don't know if he's going to be able to get him or not. What do you think, man? Is he going to take him down?
I think he's definitely going to have a hard time, taking Joe Soto down. He can do it if he gets him up against the cage and he starts using his legs to kind of drag Joe Soto to the ground. But I definitely don't see him having the same success as Tanaka. Like you said, Tanaka's the same build as those Team Alpha Male guys, more power wrestling than anything else. I think Joe Soto himself, being a decorated wrestler himself, wrestling at Iowa Central, which is a huge junior college wrestling powerhouse in Iowa. He was there when Cain Velasquez wrestled there, John Jones wrestled there. So Joe Soto's no slouch in the wrestling game. I think that he would have to be pushed up against the cage and, maybe dragged down with a leg or something like that. I don't think Ronnie Yahya has the ability to just out-wrestle Joe Soto.
Jeremy Kennedy's -110, and Hani Jason is also -110. And Jeremy Kennedy, he's the kid that fought that guy that Paul Felder just fought, that Alex Ricci guy. And Kennedy fought him in his UFC debut up a weight class and beat him 30-27. And it was an easy contest for him, man. I mean, he literally did whatever he wanted to do, which was, in that fight, was striking to take down attempts, and then eventually he got him down, wore him out, and won an easy 30-27. But if you watch this kid's regional scene fights, I mean, dude, he's a good athlete. He throws his punches straight down the middle. There's no weakness. He's one of these kids that started doing MMA. He doesn't come from a wrestling background. He doesn't come from a karate background. He comes from MMA. Like, he's one of those kids. So he's pretty damn good at everything, man. It's just a matter of getting that experience in, because that's where Hani Jason has two edges in this fight. The experience edge and the jiu-jitsu off his back edge. Because Hani Jason, he's very slick, finding a submission off his back. I got to give him credit for that. He's a guy that, he's not going to win decisions. His style does not win decisions at all, because he basically waits for that one big moment to get a spectacular finish. And if he doesn't get it, he's going to lose the fight, man. And, dude, I don't know if you saw his fight with Dennis Bermudez, but, that was an ass whooping, man. And that was just a 3-round hard to watch ass whooping. And I feel like, the USADA be like, you saw that meme I sent you, man. It's one of those situations. Yep. So the output is completely waned. I feel like Jeremy Kennedy has the style to overwhelm a guy like Hani Jason. He's going to be mixing in the takedown attempts, mixing in the strikes that are way more technical than the one shot at a time that Hani Jason brings to the table. So the one area I'm concerned about is Kennedy getting caught. When he's on top of Jason, if Hani Jason catches him with a triangle or something like that, that's the only thing I'm worried about. But, dude, I feel like this is going to be smooth sailing. So, I put Jeremy Kennedy in that parlay with Tim Means, And I know it sounds crazy, but, man, I'm trusting him to get this win here. So we'll see what happens. I feel like this kid is the real deal, and he might be the top Canadian prospect to look out for. So we'll see if he lives up to my hype on Saturday night, Biggie.
Yeah, I definitely watched that fight a lot. Kennedy's first fight against Alex Ricci. Obviously, I was in the corner for Paul Felder in his last fight, and we studied and seen the things that Ricci did well and didn't do so well. So in that sense, I got to watch Kennedy as well. He was fighting up a weight class and on short notice, I believe. The fight came together pretty short notice for those guys. He did tend to get a little bit tired at the end, but Hani Jason tends to get tired as well at the end. I just saw some holes in Kennedy's takedowns and grinding type of, fighting style. He's not a Darren Elkins. He's not, those guys that Usman, with the grind where we know that it's a guaranteed grind out, Hani Jason will have the opportunities to see submissions. And I think it'll be a close fight because Hani fights off his back. Kennedy was laying in the guard of Ricci, not doing a lot of damage. I think that can cost him the fight, with it being in Brazil, with the new rules, saying that just because you get a takedown doesn't mean you win the round. I definitely can see that one being really, really close, though. I'm not too sure or too confident on either side to really make a pick. So for me, I'm kind of just going to stay away from that fight and just watch it as a fan and hope that it's an exciting matchup.
Well, I don't know if it's going to be exciting, but I feel like Jeremy Kennedy is going to get the victory, and that's all I need when I'm putting my money down. So whether it's a bullshit split decision, a boring grind fest, or a first round knockout, I'll take a win by any means necessary. So let's go, Jeremy Kennedy. We got Michel Prazeres. He's minus 245. The comeback on Josh Burkman is plus 205. And dude, I've been listening to this podcast called the Secrets to Success podcast, and you know Eric Thomas. I feel like the hip hop preacher. Didn't he do some work with Showtime?
Yeah, he came up and did work with our whole team. Actually, Duke reached out to him, and they were able to make it happen. And he came up, and it's actually on YouTube. You can look it up. Part of the speech he did for us is on there, and he also has a relationship with Tyron. He's did some stuff with him, and that footage is in the Champ Camp series. Michael Thomas Eric Thomas has a good relationship with the gym and Duke and stuff like that. So definitely has spoken to the team and dropped some knowledge and good things every now and then for us.
Dude, I love Eric Thomas and the Secrets of Success podcast. So I listen to it all the time, and one thing he said is that I can't explain it, but winners win and losers lose. And, even though Josh Burkman has all the physical advantages in terms of height and reach against Michel Prazeres, I feel like Josh Burkman's going to find a way to lose, man. Look, if you look at his UFC run, he's like 1-6, and the one fight he won was where, I'm not discrediting the win, I'm just saying how it was, in that KJ Noons didn't want to pull the trigger, and then he retired after the fight. So it was one of those situations, and Burkman got an ugly close decision there. So, aside from that, he's lost every other fight, man. So I feel like in this spot, even though he could totally catch a guy like Prazeres who has been caught before. I mean, Gilbert Burns dropped Prazeres, you know what I'm saying, dude? So the thing is here, I feel like Burkman's going to have his moments. He's going to probably throw a nice flying knee. He might even get one knockdown or do something spectacular, but he's going to find a way to lose. So for that reason, man, I got Prazeres. I feel like he's going to be able to grind him down, mix in the takedowns, throw in some big loopy punches, and bottom line is just out-volume him and win that decision. So, yeah, I got Prazeres for the victory here, dude.
Yeah, I would take Prazeres as well. Josh Burkman's definitely not impressing. I mean, he just lost to a guy that, I beat my pro debut, who's not very good. And it just showed to me that that Josh Burkman's on his way out. And, with that fight being in Brazil, I definitely see him, finding a way out of that fight. He definitely has all the skill set to still be dangerous, to win fights. But like you said, winners win, losers lose. And sometimes guys just lose their heart in the sport. And that's where it seems that Josh Burkman is at. He could prove me wrong, but definitely don't see that happening.
Sergio Moraes, he's minus 220, and Davi Ramos is plus 180. So basically, this is Jiu-Jitsu World Champion versus Jiu-Jitsu World Champion. So Sergio Moraes, Serginho, we know the deal, man. He has world-class Jiu-Jitsu. I mean, he tapped out Neil Magny, but lately he doesn't use his Jiu-Jitsu, man. I mean, he's been trying to stand and bang with dudes, and luckily for him, he's been winning these fights. But, man, he's been taking ass whoopings in a lot of these fights, and then he comes back and wins in the third round and stuff like that. But you know what? I got to give him credit, because in his last fight, against the guy you mentioned earlier, against Zach Otto,
yeah,
he finally went back to his takedowns. I was happy to see that, man. So here against Davy Ramos, who's got the better jiu-jitsu here, man? Because they're both apparently world champions. So, Sergio's definitely got, obviously, the MMA and UFC experience, but Davy could be some badass that I just don't know about. So do you know anything about this kid, Davy Ramos?
Yeah, and Davi, yeah. Davi Ramos is a beast in the jiu-jitsu community. Everybody knows about him in there. Myself being a grappler and competing, I know about the guy. I've watched videos of him. It's just going to be the question of, has it translated over into MMA? This is a short notice fight. He's actually a lightweight fighting a bigger fighter in Sergio Moraes, who is, obviously, like you said, has the UFC experience, has the grappling in MMA experience. He has more fights. Definitely just comes down to it will be a jiu-jitsu kind of fight, though, for sure. I think it's going to end up on the ground. Whether it's Davi trying to take it to the ground or Sergio taking it to the ground or just some sloppy striking end up, on the ground as well. Should be an intriguing matchup. I just don't know how Davi Ramos's jiu-jitsu has translated over into MMA. I haven't seen him fight, live. Maybe I'll have to check out some video after this, but I'll have to go with Sergio Moraes being the bigger, more experienced fighter, where jiu-jitsu might cancel itself out. I could see him having the better striking, at least having the reach advantage and stuff like that.
I'm with you on that, man. Marion Renault, she's -120, and Betch Correia is +100. You got a strong opinion on this one, man? Because for me, I see this one going all 3 rounds, and I'm not really sure who I'm favoring here, man. I kind of want to hear your breakdown.
I'm not really going one way or the other super hard on this fight, but I do believe Marion Renault is the better striker on the feet, more complete striker on the feet. Betch Correia likes to throw down on her feet. I see Marion Renault, not putting her away, because not a lot of women in the sport at this time have a lot of knockout power per se, but they definitely have an output that's very high. And so I can see Marion Renault just kind of beating up Betch Correia. Betch Correia just being tough and, lasting all 3 rounds, but definitely not super confident in that pick one way or another.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that, though, because you bring up a very good point about her striking in terms of, she is a volume striker, whereas Betch is one shot at a time. And Betch is down to throw down, man, but with her, it is mostly overhands and left hooks. And Marion Renault does have the straight punches, and it'll be interesting to see what happens if this fight hits the mat as well. So, yeah, I'll go with Marion Renault by decision, but who the hell knows, man? Because with Betch's fights, they're kind of hard to call, man. That fight with Raquel Pennington, man, she fought very close with Rocky, and Rocky's a good fighter. Rocky got the decision there, man, but, I felt like it could have gone either way. And then she also fought very close with Jessica Ai, which makes me think she's going to fight close here too, and it's in Brazil. So the split decision could totally go Betch Correia's way, and we have seen Marion Renault be on the wrong side of a controversial split decision in the past when she fought Ashley Evans Smith. So just keep that in mind, but Marion Renault should get it done. Keyword should, Biggie. So, dude, I think we covered the card. So before we get out of here, we got to talk about the fight to watch and the fighter to watch. So, Mike Biggie Rhodes, what is the fight to watch for UFC Fortaleza?
I think the fight to watch for me is going to be the Jussier Formiga Ray Borg fight. That just excites me all around. Really good matchup, really good fight. We have a guy at the top of the division fighting a young up-and-comer. Definitely either the old lion's going to move forward and probably end up being close to a title shot, or we're going to have Ray Borg jump up there in the top and start making some more noise, getting some top matchups. But that's definitely the fight to watch. And my fighter to watch is Daniel Dariush. I think his stock can either really rise or it could really fall with the win or loss here. So that'll be definitely my fighter to watch.
My fight to watch is Tim Means versus Alex Cowboy. Look, this fight just happened about 3 months ago, and it was a very decisive ending despite the fact that it says no contest, next to the official result. Now they're going to run it back, and, either Tim Means is going to solidify the fact that he is the better fighter, or this could be a redemption story for Alex Cowboy. So for that reason, that is my fight to watch. Now, my fighter to watch, I'm going to agree with you on this one, Biggie, is Beneil Dariush. Look, man, one does not simply 30-27 Rashid Magomedov in the Mexican elevation. That's exactly what he did in that fight. Now, I know my boy Rob Bets on Fights was saying that Rashid fought dumb in that fight, and I completely disagree. I feel like it's credit to Benny. Look, Benny hurt him with a big liver kick early in that fight, and that made Rashid initiate the clinch, and then Benny was the stronger guy in the clinch. He softened Rashid up with knees to the body, and then they both kind of gasped because you know how that Mexico City elevation is, but they ended up getting into a dirty, sloppy brawl. But man, Benny got his arm raised against the more technical guy, and I feel like he's going to get his arm raised against the more technical guy here as well. So for that reason, Benny is your fighter to watch. Now, Biggie, I appreciate the time, my man. We did it. We covered the whole card. And let the audience know what you got coming up. And anything you want to mention, go ahead, my dude.
You know me, man. I'm kind of I've been low-key on the fight news. I was stepped up and took a fight for Bellator, or I was supposed to. Couldn't make the agreed-upon catch weight in 3 days. I gave it a really valiant effort. I lost 22 pounds in just over 30 hours. So definitely stepped up, tried to do that. Right now I'm just kind of laying back, gonna let the body heal from that cut. Obviously that's not something you want to do all the time, but just letting the body heal up, get my metabolism and everything back firing correctly, back to training already. So, right now I'm going to find a jiu-jitsu tournament, compete for the first time as a brown belt, and hopefully walk away with some gold and, look to get something on the books here for an MMA fight. But just follow my social media, man. I like to have a lot of fun on there, interact with people, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. Check me out. It's Team Rock Biggie, TeamRock Biggie. That's Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, Mike Biggie Rhodes fan page over on Facebook. And then you can check out my website, BiggieMMA.com. Just check me out on my social media. Stay in touch and look for a fight announcement hopefully coming soon.
Yes, sir. Follow me on Twitter at BestFightPicks. Go to BestFightPicks.com for the plays. Subscribe to Half the Battle on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, and Stitcher. Make sure to hook up the 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher. Really appreciate it. And until the next time, let's cash these bets.